Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Plus3 Futures and Commodities Show. We are recording on 11/11 in the evening. It's Friday evening, November 11th. My name is Ben Maldonado. As always, I'm here with Barrie Hederachi. How are you, Barrie?
Doing pretty well. Doing pretty well.
Busy week?
Busy week. It was a good week.
Yeah, crazy week, actually. A lot of
every week's crazy. This quarter is going to be, well, the whole year, actually.
Yeah, it's just been nuts.
Keep you on your toes.
Right. So today we got a big show on the commodity side. We're going to be covering gold, silver, copper, crude oil, nat gas, sugar, cotton, cocoa. Barrie every week covers the big five, which has been expanded to the big six, which are the S&P, the ES, the futures, bonds, gold, crude, the dollar, euro, and copper. So we got a busy show. Yeah. And look at what woke up from its slumber this week.
About time is what I have to say about
that. I mean, the thing that was most encouraging and most interesting to watch was, we had this terrible sideways market. The volatility picked up, and look where we caught the low.
Exactly on the half square.
I mean, perfectly on the half square.
2 days in a row.
I mean, we were waiting for this, to happen, when we came down over here, when we got rejected up here, we were waiting for it there. And here we go. We're at the half square. So this looks bearish. It looks like it's just, sort of picking up the bearish steam now. First couple of tests held. We're now drifting back down. We haven't had an up bar. This is going to be inside bars. So, it's just going to be marking time until we take that out, and then we see what happens. Can we break out and then get stuck under the level? Which, by the way, all the levels are on a Google Doc spreadsheet, which we'll post the link to. So in case you can't get the level or you don't write it down in time, you can look on that spreadsheet. So on Bitcoin, the key level now on support is 15,740. So in this 15,740 area, we're going to watch and see. Odds favor we're going to break it. Then the key is, do we get stuck under? Because if we get stuck under, then we head into the target box and down to the full square here at around 6,800. Anything else to add here on Bitcoin?
Not a thing.
Other than glad it's woken up.
Yeah, exactly. When things start rolling, you just leave it alone. And key thing is, if we're going to consolidate down here, or we're going to go back and up, try to poke a little higher for a counter trend, but it looks really weak. So,
I mean, look what happened here. The highs of these bars is just on this 8th,
Yeah.
Which is under like all those
inside
lows.
Day and another inside day. So that's not exactly strength. So,
right. So look for lower prices in Bitcoin. Let me throw it over to you. Let's dive in. Really at a key juncture here. I had a big cycle window Thursday, Friday this week, and a lot of stuff was spiking into it. So it's going to be interesting to see the price action for the next few days. But let's get into it and see what you see.
All right.
There we go.
All right. Well, where to start, Ben? Where to start? Let's see. Well, we can start at the low here. And just to catch up on the storyline, let's say we had this low come in October 3rd, and we talked about it a lot at the time. You guys can go back and check the old shows, and you'll see we did a lot of talking there, and how a lot of big cycles expired. And then when we got to the false break low, we talked about how that was a false break right away, right? And how this block was going to be the support, and that if we can hold above that we're probably going to go up and test at least the 3850 area. And 3825 was really the big target that we had on the screen. We came up here, ran up a little bit, consolidated, ran up, pulled back, counter trend, retested. The key thing to watch here or notice here is, we started to make higher highs and higher lows, right? And here was a little bit of a fake out. We stopped exactly on the square, 38.25 was in play there. We went back and forth a couple times. And this is what happens when you're, working on a good fake. You have to, really make it meaningful. And, we went down on the news and boom, broke right through 38.25 and came up to the 1/3 and stopped on that dashed dotted line that you guys can see there. So 40 and 39.40, basically, we held it near it over here, late October. And, there was enough force today to just break right through. And that's kind of, what you see. So the next real resistance is about 40.38. I might have to adjust that next week. We'll see what happens. And 41.40 above that with the half square sitting about 40.85, let's say 87. Yeah, let's say 40.90. How about that? So what do we do next week? I'm looking at this. So we had a decent move up. We had a good breakthrough. Now the key is if we can get up into this 40.38. I think if we stall out here, we're probably going to go back and test, 39.40 for starters. And if not, we have this 38.75 is a really key area that we got to watch. And that's right around here. So 38.75 gets back in play, and 39.40 would be ideal. So if we can pull back and hold above 39.40, it would mean, this leg has a little bit more to go. Now, I think whatever we get next is probably, I'm going to treat it first as some kind of a counter trend before calling it a big high. Although we have enough signs in here to call it some kind of a high early next week, let's say Monday, Tuesday. But cycles can be off a little bit. But prices are usually pretty much right on. So we're going to look at this 40.38. If we hang out around under that, we can't take it out Monday or Tuesday, then I would say we're probably going to turn down for the rest of the week and test 39.40. If we take it out, then probably go down to 38.75. That's sort of how I'm mapping it out. Now, if we take out 40.38, let's say come Monday, Tuesday, then we have a lot more to go. Probably 41.40 area. That would make it a decent move. Anything you want to add to that, Ben?
No, just that 90 up on a 4-hour gets you to 40.65, which is, right in that 40.90, 40.38, right in between that area. So
yeah, so we have enough time. This time cycle is due, let's say. So if we don't turn down Monday, Tuesday, and we take out, let's say, this 40.38, then we could run fairly well, at least most of the month. So it's kind of a critical point. This area down here was okay. We cleared that. Then we kind of messed around here. All right. We cleared the next level. We cleared 38.25. So we're, fairly clean with the clean break. So next level to watch, really, if you want one number for next week, is really 39.40. And that's the one any counter trend should stall out at. And then we have 40.38 to the upside. I think keep it simple. I think it's good enough.
I mean, I agree with you. We had the cycles, come in Thursday, Friday. If we don't clear that 40.38 Monday, Tuesday, you got to look out.
Yeah.
That means we topped.
Yeah. We could have a decent spot, something going on there. All right. Let's move on to the weekly chart.
Got a big spot too.
So weekly, it's let's just go back. It's really important. We always look back to see where the leg sort of got started, And I like going back and looking because it reminds me of where we came from. Otherwise, it's always you get caught up in the moment and you tend to forget where the cycles started. And I know we did a lot of talk about why that's a good low and how it's sort of like a seed, and the market sort of grows out of it, and all of that. And this has
Mhm.
been, it's been pretty good lesson, in real time watching it. All with all the news, all the all the stuff that comes at you every day. You can see how the chart sort of all held together, ran up to test the 52, and so this is the key here. When we were down at the half square, the point was, if we didn't take it out decisively, like the next week, which we didn't, then we're probably going to go up and test the full square, and
Here we
38,
are.
and there we are. And 38.96 was like the the key resistance we had. So it was really between 38.96 and the square. And you can see last couple of weeks we banged up against it, really couldn't close above it, right there.
Mm-hmm.
And we had that week close last week, and then boom, this week we broke right through it. So breaking through is great. The point is, do we have enough force to continue that?
Mm-hmm.
And you can see basis weekly, it's really this, this 39, 80, let's say. This area is what it really has to clear or not. And I would not worry about that so much as this 38.96, because if we can come back and hold above it, okay, fine, give it a little bit of a noise there. So the key level to watch from now on is 38.96 to see if the pullbacks can hold above it, or if we revert through it. And if we turn down through it, well, I think we're not ready to, blast off just yet. And if you look at the weekly, you can see we didn't, quite take out any kind of downtrend lines, which is, it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And we're quite, we're far from it. So it's possible we do something else now, but it's at a critical level. You see, in the weekly is 38.96, and the daily numbers we went over. So it's a time to sort of watch it, because the drawdowns could be too much just to be long. I mean, we're trading this anyway. We're not holding these. So it's a time to watch. Why? Well, because it's working on a square. And the square 52 on a weekly basis is sort of the master square for weekly charts. So I think it's important to pay attention to it. And it was over a month between levels. So it's not like we have a level to work on every week. We don't, right?
Mm-hmm.
We had it here, and now we have it up here. So we'll see what happens. But like I said, like Ben, like you said, I think that was the best way to put it. If Monday, Tuesday, we can't take out those daily highs, then take out this 40.38, then we have to be careful and to see if we can hold this 39.40 at least.
Right.
So if that goes, then we can kind of say the cycles came in, and we can look for some weaker conditions for a bit. And if you guys like our work, just want to remind you to click the likes. And last week we got a lot of likes. Maybe you guys heard us. It's funny when you're watching, you just really don't think about clicking like. So that's why we're reminding you. And also the alerts. And if you want to share the links with people that trade, would be great. Right, Ben?
Absolutely.
We just do it for the likes.
Feedback is great.
Yeah, and feedback's what you guys think of our analysis, and if you guys have levels that are close to ours, it's always good to know, because there's so many ways to look at the markets, right? We're just
Look at bonds there on your chart. So many markets are doing that right now, where they've come back into resistance, or they're testing something, and they're at decision points right when the cycles change.
Right, exactly.
So interesting.
So bonds story is fairly easy. Well, it's been easy, but let's see if it happens, if it keeps it up. We were down 270 degrees from the high in 2020, and that you can see we spent a little bit of time there before breaking through. Now we made a little bit of a higher low and came up to retest it. Now I said, long as we're below this 270, this area around 24, it's on a weak ground, and we're probably going to go test at least the 1/3, if not the half square, which is around 112. So we'll keep it in mind, and markets don't go straight down. And you can see after we started here how many counter trends we had. We had one here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and those are just the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm treating this as a counter trend for now. No choice. You have to go by the books, and we'll see what happens. Now, if we clear this 124, it looks like we could consolidate. We could have a stronger counter trend playing out. So pay attention to that and look for a next position. For now, looks like, especially if we clear 124 next week, we can certainly go a little bit higher, because if you look back at history, we've done, bonds have decent, good size counter trends. They're not tiny little trends, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this could get up into, 132, who knows? But the quarter squares have been playing a good role here. I don't want to clutter with all kinds of lines. So let me just put the quarters in here. You can see the move down came from 170, took out the square and found support at the quarter. Now that's normally, it's okay. It's a decent, it's not the kind of a support level that would end a leg like this, but it's good enough for a little bit of a bounce, which we got. And like I said, if 124 is kept or not is the key. And if we get above it, we'll probably have a bigger one correction. If not, we're probably going to, the next visit down to this quarter line and taking these lows out is almost a guarantee to get down to the half. So there's a good trade in here. And yeah, anything you want to add?
I just got weekly and monthly resistance in like 125, 126 area. So if we push through your square there, we may go another quarter or another eighth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was look, we got the quarter even in from here, right?
Mm-hmm. If they look short-term bullish, it's just a matter of, when you're going against the main trend, the bid can disappear at any time.
Right. So we also we almost squared out here, it was 72, square 72. And 72 square it was a half square support. So there was some support there. We're getting a bit of a counter trend. We'll see how it goes. Now let's take a look at the weekly. I think actually is the better story. And the reason I say that is the big square 144 that's sort of holding it all together.
That's a big one.
It's a big one. And so this counter trend, we talked about this earlier. I think even the last couple of weeks, I said, look, before we get there straight down, we're probably going to counter trend and then come down into it. And that would be, middle of December. So give or take a bar, that would be ideal. We'll see. Now, if we go up and square up here, that's really negative.
Right.
But either way, we're treating this as a counter trend. We'll see how it plays out. Let's move on to crude oil. Crude, the basic story, like I said, if you guys haven't seen all the shows, go back and check the last couple of weeks. It'll catch up on the story. Basically, ever since we broke out of the circle and we found support at this 144-degree level, we were looking for higher prices and a directional change from the trend that came into the break, right? So you came in weak, found support, broke out of the circle, found support on the square, rally, counter trend, kind of a weak rally, counter trend. Fine. So we're making higher lows, and it's not looking bearish so far, because why? We have this really key number over here, 83. It's a number that we should really hold above if we're going to run. And I think we talked about last week, as long as we're up above this 144, we're going to have a higher volatility in crude, and it's proven out. So we could be, and we were relatively low vol through here, right? So we could be getting into another high volatility phase if we take out 91. We'll see how that plays out. But basically, you can see how we're inching up, and we're kind of hanging right under 91. We're not selling off into 73, right? We're keeping those lows intact. It's a tight market, looks very efficient. So let's see how it plays out. As long as we're above 83, it's bullish, and above 91 could mean a lot of things on the bullish side.
Sure.
And taking out 97 would push us into new highs. So at some point. So those are the levels to watch, and that's sort of the story. And looking at the weekly crude, not much to add. It's we had that low we had in when we had that breakout of the circle. That low was also 45 degrees down from this high, and we called out that support. We had good support. We're looking for higher prices, at least to go up and test the half square, which is is right about at 100. So, and if we get there, I'm telling you, because of the cycle, if we get there, we're probably going to go higher and probably take these out. So there's a lot of good trading here. Crude is hot. Gotta stay focused on crude. Right, Ben?
Absolutely. I'll mention something in my segment on crude.
Oh, you're covering crude too, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, we have gold, and again, we called out the support around this level. 1646 was the level we needed to hold above. We held above it. Then sort of I said momentum's going to kick in if we get through 1676.
Mm-hmm.
And there you go.
And how about that false break again, Barry? Look at that.
Oh, man, you got to love it, right?
Yeah, there's your false break, and then it goes.
Yeah, very good. And we called it out. That
absolutely in
as
real
it happened.
time. Yeah.
And I think we've made a lot of good calls, not to, bang our own gong, right? But drum. We have. I was just looking at the charts.
I just love the false breaks on these things because it is a if you go back and look at your charts, you'll see a consistent pattern of these things. Before the real move, they do a false break in the other direction.
Right. And this developed really nicely, right? We came off the high, came in here, we were in the down channel, we broke out, came back, but you can see how we stayed on top of the channel, right?
Mm-hmm.
And did this sort of a final washout push, rallied, came back, and got everybody confused, did the false break, and bam. So this is the true spirit of a false break, and really good trading in gold.
And
I mean, if you just trade the false breaks, right?
Right. At that false break is where all the calls for 1,500 gold started coming out.
Right. Yeah. If you watch the news and this stuff, it's amazing how they get you on the wrong footing.
Yep.
So, well, based on this chart, we got square 72 is right around 1793.
Mm-hmm.
But I like this 1814. I think that's the level to watch for resistance. I mean, it could be a box in here, something like this that we might be dealing with for now. And we'll see how it goes.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the next pullback obviously is the critical one to watch, but this is good enough. It's really doing good. Yeah. Finally.
Yep. I'll say a few words on gold too when it comes into this thing. Yeah.
And the weekly chart, I don't know how many people really get down in our gold feature section, right?
Right.
But look at this. We called out the ABCD finishing off this leg, and we said, listen, 1650, 1670 is sort of the level we need to get above. You can see last week before last, we pushed above it, right? Now, here's the thing that, these levels might not make much sense if you're not really trading or watching these every day. But if you look at it, you can see, we closed up here last week, right? All right. We opened, we just tested that 1670 level and we took off, right? And that was the spot on that pullback. And then, boom, it was right through everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why these levels are important, and I hope you guys are copying and saving those. Now that we're above it, we really got I mean, of course, we happen to stop exactly right in the neighborhood of 1767. The key now is to get above that, since we made that entire run, 1670 to 1767 in one week, just one push. Not even 1 week, it's just even sooner, right? But that was the block, and you can see how it went right from point to point. So clearly this is the point level to watch. See if we can get above that. Looks like we probably have a little bit of a consolidation in this under it, or maybe a little bit above it. Same rules, guys. If it's above it, then we're gonna look, we're gonna look for it to test at least 1881, which is the next level. And if not, probably come back and test the 180-degree level, which is really good support. 1693, 94, let's say. That might be a little too steep for this kind of momentum. I mean, if it comes way down here, it's probably we got more sideways. Otherwise, this is pretty good, and we're going to look for some, maybe like a shallow pullback with lows holding around 1740 would be perfect. You know what I mean? You don't want deep pullbacks if the market's strong. So see how that plays out. But we gave out the key numbers with the daily, so that's better to watch for gold. And what else? Well, we are coming up on a square here, so keep your eyes out next week. Like you said, a lot of things are squaring out. There's a bunch of cycles expiring, so we gotta watch that.
It's really amazing how many markets are at squares and turns.
Yeah, and when they show up, that's when markets kind of get pulled into that, right? You can see how everything got pulled in, up or down, both ways, right? Some are got pulled down, some are got pulled up.
Yep.
And anyway, so copper, we have. Let me just delete this for now. I think we're done with that. Well, all through the bottoming process, we had that ABCD coming right there. We said 330 is sort of the line in the sand, and that if that holds, copper has a chance to rally and test the half square. And what do you do, Ben? It held and tested the half square. And now we're above that by a good bit. So 380 would be the half square. If we're holding above that, I think copper might be in good shape. Any pullbacks? Well, let me see what we got here. Yeah, if we can hold above the third line, I think 1/3, about 360. It's a good number. So I think 360 is the number to watch for now. And obviously, if it's any reversal happens above that, it's even better. What else can I say? Well, 384 is also an important number. We're running on good numbers here. Well, it looks good, making good numbers. So up until we get to the 90, which will be November 18th. I mean, if we hit that on a key price, obviously that's going to expire that cycle. So it might be we might be coming to the end of the 90. So keep that in mind. For now, it looks good. And the next target up, the 1/3, would be around 470, 407. And in the big picture, let's say, so you see, Ben, how long-term charts keep you, straight and narrow, right? I mean, here, when we started covering copper, I had this fork put in, we had the squares, we talked about the 90, long as we're holding above that, you can play the long side. We talked about how it's hugging the fork. And
I mean, look at that. It was like a month and a half, 2 months where they're battling at the 90. It's just perfect.
Yeah. And there's there's a trend line that we saw in the daily. Right there. Broke that. Here's the pullback after the break, came back to kiss it, and boom, there you go.
And look where your uptrend started, right at your half square.
Uptrend where?
That move up.
Right here. Yeah. Of course. So I would expect, it looks like we're at least have to go up and test 408, 409, 410, let's say, somewhere in there. Let's say 410. But we naturally put this up. This is a square of 90. You can see, look at all this resistance up here. So this, you can, if you just eyeball that, you can see there's a whole bunch of overhead up here, right above the half square. So it's naturally, it's there anyway, right? And so that's kind of the distance we have left, basis weekly.
Sure.
All right, let's move on to the dollar. Yeah, what a story. You guys, if you haven't seen this, you have to go back and catch the last, I don't know.
I mean, nailed it.
Nailed it. And you don't always get to say that you nailed the dollar. So, that's why I'm saying it. So
right. No, it's really good.
It's just fun to say. All right. So what happened was this high came in perfectly. We had 90-week cycle up here, and that would have to put in a high of some sort. And then we were looking for the counter trend to tell us how strong the market was. Counter trend came in, looks pretty strong. Came back up, lower high, really couldn't get above the square of 72. You can see how it got stalled out there. And we had this ABCD that was up there. Couldn't do it. Came down lower low. You guys, if you're studying these charts, lower low, came
Lower
back,
high.
lower high, right?
Boom.
And that sets it up. I mean, it should have set up here, right? Right there.
Yeah.
But our currencies are a little crazy. So we came up to there. Perfect. Everything's technically intact, right? And here's a little false break to the upside before we roll down on the news. And now, well, my call is that, at this point, it has to go and take this out at least by a false break before we're all said and done. So, but that does look like, everybody's headed for the door. So,
I mean, this is a perfect exhibit of how a square works, right? You came up
Exactly.
into it.
Yep.
Failed.
Squared.
Retest. Fail. Boom.
Yep. Boom. Lower highs. Boom, boom, boom. There.
Yep.
Beautiful. I mean, textbook. I'm so glad we're recording these. I can have my kids watch it.
Exactly. There's knowledge right there.
Yeah. All right. So this is where it all started, right? We were watching the weekly charts, and see, this is the power of weekly, and this is why I always bring up weekly charts. It's boring, but listen, when they kick in and when the key points come in, it's priceless. And I don't know how many people called the high here, but this wasn't even anything special. It's just textbook 90 weeks.
90 degrees. Yeah.
And I've been drumming saying how important that is. And you can see after that, we kept making lower highs, which we also talked about, saying, hey, listen, if this starts making lower highs, that's a sign. And
if we get really stuck below the 180, it was a huge sign.
That's right. Yep. And then we had this false leg move up here and reverse. So just to make it wrap this up, 106, 106.75, I guess was the level we were watching. So there's a box in here for support right in there. I'll draw it out. And, we should technically get a rest here and find some support some degree. And the next rally, we'll see what the strength is. Now, of course, if we take it out and not make it a false break, like I showed you guys on the daily chart, well, clearly there's more to go. I mean, that kind of a steep angle normally gets equally steep sell-off. So this looks like, I thought, hey, if we could hold above 112, we can go a lot higher, right?
Right.
But that 90 cycle came in, and now we know the story. So this is
now the next big test is at your half square there, the 106 area.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you hold that, you can sort of build a base from there potentially.
Right, that's possible on a weekly basis. Yeah, we'll see how it goes.
Yep.
Euro, basically kind of the same story, but in a mirror. We came into this low, 288 degrees. If you guys go back and check the September 28th, whatever segment, we called that out, and we were looking for a bounce to test this box up here, at least a half square. And we got that, came down, higher lows, higher highs. Did the ABCD, sold off, higher highs, came back up here. So long as we're holding above the half square, it's kind of in a stronger position, right? And these kind of boxes, if it doesn't work the first two times or so, it's probably going to get blown in, which it did. And I would have said 216 would be good resistance, but blew right through that onto this little box we had drawn out months and months ago. Just happened to stop right there. So we'll see how that pans out. And if the dollar has really made the turn or not. So for the euro, I would say, 102 would be the area to watch for support on any kind of a pullback. And if we lose that, then we're probably going to go more sideways or some other pattern. And as long as we're above that square, this 102 area, then I would say the half square is probably the place to test. about 106. Okay.
Mhm.
Simple enough, right?
Yep.
And here's the weekly euro. Pretty much the same story. Found support on the 1/3. This half square was a big deal if you can get above it or not. It just so happens exactly when the half square broke is pretty much when the downtrend line broke, right?
Mhm.
You can see right there, right there. And so technically everything worked out nicely. You can see the low this week was right at that half, 99 level. And I wasn't sure if it could actually pull this off. Unless it actually did it, it looked like it could
Mhm.
definitely reach this 90 area, 180. So that's about all I got for the euro. You have anything to add to that?
No, just as you said, it's the mirror image of the dollar, and it's there's a lot of overhead there that it's got to get through.
Mm-hmm.
So um, we'll see. We'll see what happens with it.
Right, right. And we also have this. This is the cycle that we were talking about earlier in the dollar, right? So we have it in the euro, that 90.
Yep.
So that came in. Anyway, all right, let me put it back to you. We'll cover the rest of it.
Great.
All right, thanks. Look at that. And how do they always stop at these squares, Ben?
at these critical time windows, right?
Aye.
We've got big cycles hitting today, and look at where we stop.
Well, listen, I'm grateful. I'm not complaining
No,
at all.
not at all. Not at all.
Yeah.
It's price and time, and now it's our job now to watch the price action after these time windows and at these squares and see, okay, what's the market telling us? What's more likely to happen based on where price is going to go?
Yeah.
And we're at that point with the NQs.
For sure.
We had the low come in, sharp pullback. We held the full square. Now we've shot up, and now we're back. Now we're at another decision point. We're at the top of the square here.
Right.
So the other thing that I'll show you, it's hard to see, but if I show you drawing it in, you can see what we've done. ABC right.
Actually, you had that drawn in last week, didn't you?
Yeah, we had it drawn in last week. Yeah, but we actually fulfilled it now.
Right.
So we've done an ABCD, which is, a lot of times it's a completion formation in a time window into a full square. So the thing to watch here is, can we get above the square, and can we sit on it to where we capture it and then use it as a launching pad to go higher? If not, if we lose it here, like if we can only get above, but we keep closing below, sort of like if we do this sort of stuff here,
right,
and then we lose it, or this stuff here, dance around, and then you lose it. So it's a decision point with the NQs. Obviously still bearish. Look, you have to look not only where are we, how did we get here? We're marching down.
Mm-hmm.
So until we can sit on top of this full square, and again, all these levels are in a Google Doc spreadsheet, which we'll send the link to. Call it 11,900. Until we can clear that, the trend is suspect. Maybe we bounce around down here, or maybe we roll over hard. But we'll see. We'll see. Anything else to add here on the NQs?
Well, we have the cycles, we have the price. Let's see what happens.
That's it. It's time to watch very carefully.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the commodities go, I'm not going to cover the grains today because the grains are sort of in a position where they're pulling back and they're correcting. Longer term, nothing's changed there. Still very bullish. We're just waiting for this, this pullback and this correction off of the bottoms that we got in, August, September time frame to form. So that's where we are on the grains. We're going to cover almost every other single one, so we'll speed through them fairly quickly as Barrie did cover some of them. Let's start off with the metals.
Mm-hmm.
And Barrie covered gold very well. The only thing I'll add here is we're coming into resistance on my full square. So this coming week, if we continue upwards, the key level is, call it 1788, 1790. And you can see why. Not only is it the full square, it was the low here on the way down in May. It was the lows here on the way up in January, February of last year. So we're coming into a pretty important spot. Wouldn't be surprised if we hit it or turn down here. The next thing we're watching is, what does the next pullback look like? Can we hold the half square? Do we have to go a little deeper? But do we get a higher low, right? Because we had this low here. That's your false break low. We've now taken out previous highs in here. So now we want to look at the character of the next pullback. And pretty much the same things you covered, Barrie, is that it's bullish, and we want to watch the next pullback. Weekly support is 1729. Monthly support was 1668. So we're well above those. So we want to see again, where's that first pullback come in, and can it give us a good spot to attack for sort of the third wave up?
Mm-hmm.
And that's gold. Let's go to the next one. Silver looks really, really good. Right, it's a little further on than gold. Like silver had its low here in September. Gold just had its low recently, and we had a first push up. We had a pullback, and now here's the second push up. The thing I want to show you is look at how this is how you clear a square. Right, we came down. We were getting stuck under the square. We pushed up, pulled back, lows basically on the square. Pushed up again, tested again, lows right on the square. Third time, lows on the square. That's how you clear a square.
Yeah.
And then the third time, when we hit the timing here at half square, boom, silver makes a big move higher. So again, like gold, we're coming into areas of resistance on silver. The numbers around, call it 2266. And you can see it was the highs here, the lows here, and then this whole sort of chop zone that we were in for half a year back here, around, kind of warbling around that full square, and we're approaching that level. So we don't be surprised if we see a pullback. We want to look at the same thing. We want to watch the character of the pullback. Most bullish would be if we pulled back to the half square here and held it, but it could pull back to this trend line potentially. We're looking for another higher low. This is also a very nicely developed pattern of, you see this, how it starts rounding and accelerating. This is when the momentum kicks in.
Right.
And as you see that pattern, you really like to see that, because it means the fast moves are coming. Anything else to add here on silver?
No, we're good.
Okay. Let's go to another one that you covered. What I want to show you here is a couple things. The huge battle we had down here at the bottom of the full square. And then when it goes, we go right up to the full square, and we pushed up into, above the full square. So again, next pullback, can we hold the full square? 386 area. We're also coming into resistance. Just look left. See all that stuff over there. So wouldn't be surprised to see this stall. Again, quality of the next pullback is going to tell us a lot. Where can we get involved with a good risk reward ratio? That's all the markets, are telling us at this point. Once we see this coming out of a low, we're looking for pullbacks to buy. So copper looks good. I know you covered copper, so let's jump to the next one. Let's go to the energies. Crude is sort of in this half square. Really, the thing I wanted to show here is we're kind of winding up in this half square.
Yep.
Higher highs, higher lows.
That compression pattern, right?
The compression pattern and that acceleration, right? How it rounds and then starts turning up. It looks like that's coming in crude. So crude's on the radar for much higher prices and looks very, very bullish. And again,
especially after the breakout.
Yeah, I mean, simply look, higher lows, higher highs. Just a nice smooth pattern in crude. Let's go to the next one, the Widowmaker. Nat gas. We were talking about in here after this low came in and we pushed up, we were talking about, hey, this thing looks like it could be ready. This half square has been really, really good support. We pushed up. Now we're in some sort of pullback now, and we want to see what happens here on this pullback. They've tested this so many times that I got to believe it might give way. The thing we want to see is, can we get a higher low on this full square? If we do, it's a buy, because look, this is what I think we're getting the potential for. A 1, 2, and then we can catch the 3. And here's what the 3 looks like when you catch it in this. And this thing moves. But the good thing is the squares really help us sort of tame this buck and bronco, right? You know where the good places to buy are. You know where the resistance is going to be. So you're not trying to buy it in here up against on the underside of the full square, because there's a lot of risk there. Or you're not trying to buy it here. Right. You want to buy it when it clears. You want to buy it when it sits on top, or you want to buy it when it pulls back.
Right.
And gas looks to be setting up. I know you and I have been talking about this one a lot. Anything else you want to add on gas, Barrie?
Well, I think the correction might be over. That's what I think. So it's just a matter of getting bored, getting on board.
That's right. Finding the spot and jumping in.
Yep.
All right, speaking of jumping in, let's look at the softs. The softs have been very active the last couple of weeks. And we're going to look at 3 of them. This is one we've been following for a while. We've been talking about it all through this mess. And now looks what's starting to happen. Notice what happened here?
Yep.
False break on a timing line on the half square. Since then, we pushed up, higher low, pull back to the half square, and now we're pushing up. And look where the lows are coming in now. Sitting on top of the full square.
Right.
So sugar, if you look left, there's a lot of stuff in here. But if it breaks through and sits on top of this half square, that's up and out. There's just air above. So sugar is in a very interesting spot where a monster move could kick in if we close above this, call it 2033 half square level. So it's been on the radar for a while. We broke the big triangle. And look, this is a triangle going back to April. This consolidation in this half square goes back to August of 2021. So this is a huge base that we could be breaking out of. So sugar is on the radar and very, very interesting from a big bullish move out of a long consolidation. Anything else to add on sugar?
Well, I think it's trending. You know what to do.
Yeah. Yep. Buy them pullbacks that hold on these squares or these important spots.
Yep.
Now here's one that, unlike sugar, hasn't had a sideways correction. It's gotten the living tar beaten out of it since the highs in May.
Right.
Remember, these highs appear like 160, 170. The low, 70. But this low came in nicely. We had the first strong move up off the low. I drew this fork in because I just wanted to add a little perspective on, what might be guiding price here. The key thing go ahead.
I was going to say, it's a good looking fork.
Yeah, it's pretty good. The key thing I'm watching here is where does this next pullback come in? The most important thing we need is a higher low. The bonus would be if we get a higher low that holds the half square. Because you can see from different markets, right? We're looking at different phases of how they are, where they are in this correction and move out of a low. Our supposition is this is a low. This is a great first push off. Now we need the higher low on the first pullback. And so we're watching the cotton market really closely, looking for that low and a reversal to get on to catch a potential third wave here.
Right.
After a substantial correction from May. 6 month correction, May to November. So cotton looks good. The low looks good so far. The evidence gets stronger and the probabilities get higher once we get this pullback and higher low coming in place. Anything else to add here, Barry, on cotton?
Listen, that cycle that came in at the low was pretty solid. So I think stay focused on the long side.
All right, let's look at the last one. The last one is my favorite because this thing, I don't know, since we've been doing these shows and doing the Twitter stuff, it's been going sideways. And all of a sudden, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, it woke up.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, and you see how it lulls you to sleep? Look at this price action. I mean, just snoozeville. And then all of a sudden, we make a spike low, false break.
Yep.
With these other lows. And then here we get a decent move up. And you say, oh, this is more chop. It's just, you know, it's back in
pullback. Yep.
Same pattern. Here's your pullback. And then look. And last week we called it out.
Yep.
And look at the 5 days this week. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's your 5 bars. So something's changed. Something's changed here.
Yeah.
You know, the look at the size of the bars. Look at the price action. This is unlike this. It's unlike this. It's unlike
and
this.
Know, it's not just, it's not just one market. A lot of markets ran.
Yep.
Commodities are running here. So
it's starting
to watch it. Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so again, much like all the markets, right? We had a high, we have a pullback, we have a higher high. Now it looks like, this may have topped this. We have to see how it reacts at this half square, right? We're gonna falter here and have to pull back. But this is again a market you want to watch. Do the pullbacks give you bullish setups? Like, do they set up on top of these highs here from the consolidation previously? That would be bullish. Can we not pull? Can we stand here and hold this half square? That would be super bullish.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're not in cocoa, you want to watch cocoa because again, the setup is there.
Yep.
False break at the low.
Nice,
move out.
Nice healthy pullback.
Healthy pullback, higher low. That's the name of the game. Trying to find the markets that are doing this sort of thing.
Looking good. Good coverage, Ben. Good work.
So that's the commodities. Like Barry and I were talking about it during his segment. We had major cycles hitting today and yesterday. We have to watch price action Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday in many markets. Because if they turn, it means the cycle brought in a high or a low. And, if they turn around and go the opposite direction, it's a good probability trade that the cycle's marked a high or a low at that point. So we'll be watching price action. What are you watching this week, Barry? Where's your focus?
Man, a lot of these commodities I'm watching for pullbacks. I think these are good places to add if we can line it up correctly. As you know, I'm watching cotton, all of the commodities we're watching that you talked about. And the S&P, of course, to see if we can hold above these lofty levels or if we're going to sort of turn around Monday, Tuesday. We'll have to see. I would like to see it go just a little higher, the S&P and then
suck more people in.
Well, it's the only way.
Yeah, it's how they work, no question.
Yep.
Well,
but
great job.
We did push into good resistance up here, so we'll see.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Great job, Barry, this week because it was a busy week, busy market. So rest up, everybody, this weekend and be ready because it's going to be another active week.
All right. Thanks, Ben. Everybody have a good week. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.